Hello everyone. It's been a while since I've done this video, a video in general, so I'm trying to get back in the flow of getting everything set up here. It's been a wild ride we've been going through with the COVID-19 corona and all kinds of other stuff going around the world, like with the fear and the processing of everything. So now that I have a little bit more time on my hands, one of the jobs that I've done for the last 17 or 18 years off and on is a private transportation job. I'm not sure if some of you might have known that, but it's definitely paid the bills in a lot of ways over the years. So that company's basically shut down as of right now and going forward. So I've got some time on my hands, going to be doing some other projects and so on. And I'm sure a lot of you are having to make adjustments also. And so one of the big topics that was coming to me to share regarding this virus and its purpose and everything else, it's the same thing in a way that we have been going through for years, but we're just moving into another level of processing energy. So there's a lot of different ways that we process energy. One of the first ways that I'd like to describe is the mental processing. And we'll relate this to us individually. So as an individual, we might process mentally in a way to where if we are trying to figure something out, a project, an idea, or something that we've been struggling with, we might process it mentally. Once we wrap our mind around whatever that is, say something that we haven't been able to figure out, but once we figure it out, we almost have this aha moment to where, aha, I understand what's going on. At that point, we essentially are wrapping our mind around whatever that is. And we have mentally processed it to that point to where we figured it out. And once we figured it out, we're no longer processing it, we move on. Same thing as we have many different ways that we process energy. Just as mental, we have emotional processing, where we process things emotionally. So in some ways like that, if we have a traumatic experience, we might process it emotionally. And therefore, it might be through emotional release. It might be through inner struggling with some kind of emotion. Same thing is when something comes up that we've been holding on to emotionally for a long period of time, we might experience emotion. And therefore, when we experience that emotion, we essentially are processing it. Once we've sort of come to terms whatever that was that we were holding on to emotionally, we process it emotionally, we move on. And therefore, we're not necessarily really holding on to it any longer. And therefore, we don't have to process it any longer either. A lot of people, once we're holding on to that, say, toxic emotions for a period of time, it's toxic to the physical body and so on. But once we've come to terms with it, whatever that is, and we've processed it, it's no longer weighing on our physical body. It's no longer weighing on us emotionally. And we're able to move on. So that's another way for which we process energy. So the next way is physically we process energy. To say if we have not, say, processed something, we've not been able to process something mentally and or emotionally, we've been essentially trying to push it away, emotionally not taking the time to process it. That energy has to be processed in some way, and therefore it might come out through physical processing, where we might get sick, we might break a bone, we might, our physical body might process it. Either is it through disease or is it through something that's related to the physical. But once we move through that physical processing, it's taking care of processing whatever energy that is, and we're able to move on. So over the years, for those of you that have been tied into and aware of the changes we've been going on through the years with conscious change, the energetic changes we've been going through for several years, you're more aware of, say, the process, that's gone on through the year, of different times of the year. You might have been more energetically sensitive to the changes, and therefore you might have gone through your own, say, processing. The more that we are expanding our consciousness, the more that we're tied into more of expanded levels of our own self, and therefore we get to tied into, say, processing energy on different levels. After we've gone through the process of mastering, say, and becoming aware of our own personal levels of processing and or ascension, the same thing goes, we start processing other levels of our own self. Say we might be processing energies from other past lives. We might be processing energies and or connections to other levels of our multidimensional self. The same thing on a level of a planetary or solar system and or universal level. So the process continues to go on and on. It's not like that we reach a certain level of processing and or mastery or energetic connection, and all of a sudden we are evolve and or escape anything. We are moving into all the levels of the expanded self. So in a way, we end up processing things on all the levels, and or we continue to process things in other ways. And so this COVID-19, this coronavirus thing, in a lot of ways, we are processing a mega amount of energy as a collective, and it's we're processing it physically. Different people are processing energy now than differently they were years ago. In a way, through this processing of releasing and actually processing it and releasing this energy, we are releasing density at the same time. We're moving into a lighter density. In order to move into a lighter density, energy has to be processed in some way. So that's, it's a multi-dimensional process. It's not something that is something that you could say, well, I've already gone through this level of processing so many times, through this level of fear, or this thing keeps coming. Why am I continuing to realize that we are processing things in multi-dimensional ways, a lot of times beyond what our mental minds might be aware of, and therefore it's a lot of times there's good thing that we're not mentally aware of what the heck's going on to a degree, because our ego might get involved and or judge the scenario and have more resistance and or restriction to the changes that are taking place. So it's a good thing that we're not aware of everything that is, say, that was coming up to this time. We would probably had more resistance to this change. So the biggest key that I want to share regarding this coronavirus and COVID-19, as they call it, is to see that we're going through a process of change energetically, as I've been sharing over the years, and many other people have been also, is we're processing a massive amount of energy through the coming weeks and months. It's shifting a lot of people's normal patterns to be able to become more aware of things that they might have been not allowing themselves to think of. So it's a tremendous opportunity that we're currently in and in the coming weeks and months for us to move into uncharted waters. So please keep that in mind, even though things are being, very challenging in a lot of different ways with our resources. Do the best you can to, get outside in nature, breathe fresh air, get in front of being in the rays of the sun, and relax. Relax your best you can with regarding stress and everything else, and allow yourself to move through this period of time with the least amount of stress as possible. So that's the main thing, is the ways in which we process energy. You can relate this to other things in your life also, is that if we continue to push things away mentally, it's going to come back one way or another. We have to process it. We have to figure it out. Same thing emotionally. It's good to not push the emotional trauma and or things that we might have been holding on for years, to push that stuff away, is to dive in to process it, release those levels of energetics and or energy you've been holding on to. We're processing thing as a collective. We're a collective of energy in itself, and therefore we're releasing energy as a collective. So that's it for now. I am going to, in the coming weeks, of course, have more time on my hands and be able to put some more videos together, other topics. And there's a couple meditations that I've come to me that would be beneficial to share. So I'm going to be working on those in the coming weeks and so on. And wish you all a smooth time during all this. And we'll go from here. The main thing is to assist each other the best you can, and for us to work together, and know that even though we might be secluded in our own houses, we're all working together energetically through this period of time. So until the next time, cheers, my friends.